Hey, yo, 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 it's the Ugly Truck Driver. How the flock are you? Well, it's Sunday afternoon, the 3rd of August. Shalom. Good stuff. Well, I'm not sure how to title this, but I'll take a kind of twist and a turn on what Martin Luther King once said. I have a dream. Well, in my case, I'll sit there and say, I had a dream. And it kind of scared the pee, wine, and dog poop out of me. I'm 68 years old now. I'm retired, live on a fixed income, don't have anybody to be responsible to. But I don't know if it's a matter of age that as you get older, you don't sleep as much as you used to, or you don't sleep as well as you used to, and your days and your nights get mixed up sometimes and screwed around. But the other night, I got to bed and I guess fairly decent season around 1 a.m. I woke up about 4 a.m. I won't say in a cold sweat, but I was kind of shook up a little. I had a dream. Now, I've been on this earth 68 years. I remember things that I'm going to say 60% of you either have forgotten or never heard of due to your age. And the fact that as history goes by, the people that are apologists for history have a tendency to try and rewrite it or twist it. Doesn't matter what your gender is, doesn't matter what your sexuality is, doesn't matter what your political views are. But I had a dream about America. I've got a couple other videos here on YouTube where I say, like America's going in the toilet. And this is kind of like related to that. As best as I can recall, and I can't recall at all, most times if I have a dream, I don't even know I had one, much less remember it. But this one kind of stuck in my head, and I'll try and give it to you the best way I can. And I'm looking at the politics of today here in the United States and around the world and all that's going on, the wars, the crimes, the terrorism, the assaults, mismanaged governments, oligarchies, you name it. But in this dream, I happen to find out that, well, first of all, let's refer to what Obama did this past week. All the American troops in Germany, he put underneath a German general as head commander of them. This administration has been less than supportive or friendly with the country of Israel. So you know where I'm going with it, okay? It's been said in a case of problems down on either of our borders that Obama, through the United Nations, already given permission for the United Nations troops to man our borders, man our towns in a case of martial law, in which case posse comitatus is no longer a viable thing, and United Nations troops are not required to abide by our Bill of Rights. So this is where we're headed at. This is part of the dream. But somehow or the other, I'm not sure how or why, something happened here in America, and all of a sudden, we've got foreign troops on our shores. Half of our American military has kowtowed to the socialist communist administration that's in the White House right now. Generals on down to privates. And basically there's anarchy and martial law in America all of a sudden. For whatever reasons, political, you name it. And the news media is controlled by the state, just like communists, everything else, even down to your local cops. And we've seen what's happened lately with them and their SWAT teams and their MRAPs. They're no longer police, they're militarized police, and they're not your friend. But in this scenario that I dreamt of, there was an attempt by the government, both domestic and foreign, to take over America and make our 313 million people in the United States subservient. In other words, all of a sudden, we're slaves. Our civil rights don't matter. The rule of law doesn't apply. And they're going to damn near rule over us just like Stalin ruled over all the peons in Russia at the end of the Second World War. A lot of them got sent off to gulags, never to be heard from again. But in this scenario that I was dreaming of, this attempt was made by our government with the auspices of the United Nations to completely remake America, which means putting us into a third world power position, unable to defend ourselves or supply our own needs. And I've seen this coming for years. I remember the United Nations back in the 50s. We should have never got in it, should have never financed it. We should have gotten out of it years ago. Trust me. But in the process of this dream, all of a sudden we got troops on the street. We got police. We got curfews. They're coming after the guns and everything else. Anybody that's been labeled by the government as a terrorist, you know, Christians, patriots, veterans, you know, things like that. God-fearing people, Bible-believing people, and they're coming after us. And initially, we're falling down like flies. They had this well planned out, well thought out in advance. But like most Americans, they run around with their head up their butt or in the sand, are completely oblivious as long as they can watch your stupid sports programs on TV, believe the liberal news media, watch The Voice or whoever else, Duck Dynasty. They're happier than a pig in poop. And all of a sudden, we are no longer a free nation. However, there are enough of us left, both as civilians and military, to abridge this happening. Initially, the part of the military out of the Pentagon on down that is pro-freedom, pro-Bill of Rights, separates itself from those who would enslave us. And there is a bitter fight, almost like what's happening over there in the Russian territories with Putin and everything else. One faction fighting the other, and it gets bloody. And as our civil rights are taken away, and as people end up disappearing on the face of the earth, ending up, well, I'm not even going to say FEMA camps at this point, they might be just obliterated. What has made the difference in the swing of this in the history of America in my dream is there are about 100 million people that carry firearms, own firearms, to the tune of about 300 million firearms. And while all this is going down, even to your state capitals, down to your counties and your boroughs, this cleansing of us terrorists to make the rest of the population slaves, the military part that does not want to be subservient hooks up with what? veterans, patriot groups, stuff like that. And they swing the balance of power in this dream. They take out the side of the military that would want to enslave us through the government. Take them out, put them down. With prejudice, as they say. And like anything else, once you cut the head off the snake, the rest of it's pretty well useless, and the rest of the people fall in line. But the aftermath of this is basically we have an anarchy and a revolution in America, where now we're going to eject United Nations troops. We're going to eject anybody that is not a believer in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, with prejudice. That's a polite way of saying, we're going to kill them suckers. You can walk out of here or we can carry you out. To including the United Nations. And the ultimatum given to the United Nations is you got 1 month, pack your shit, get out of New York City, go to whatever other socialist country you want, because we don't want you here in America. And of course, there's going to be rampages through all the bureaucracies and the government entities, the EPA, the BLM, the Department of Justice, the IRS, all the rest of that. And what happens in this dream is people come in and say, you're done, boom. And sometimes the justice to these people comes at the end of a bayonet or a bullet. There are no trials. That's it. You're done. Goodbye. One less idiot to deal with. And especially in the bureaucracies. And it goes from the top dog in every bureaucracy down to Susie Secretary. Yeah, there's going to be some bloodshed. And at the end of all of this, I'm going to guesstimate maybe 2 years, those of us that survive, the patriots, the people that believe in God, Mom, and apple pie, are going to remake America again as it used to be. The most powerful country on the face of the earth. One that can be your friend, and if you're our enemy, you better be afeared of us. Not like what's happened, especially in the last 8 or 12 years. And we're going to deal with people like the Middle Eastern terrorists, just like they dealt with the Christians over there, or people that were non-believers. We're going to give them the exact same justice in the village squares, at the end of a rope, in front of a firing squad. Why? Because it has to be. You can't make peace with people that refuse to be warlike. And when you're threatened, you have a right to protect yourself and a right to retaliate. And this is in my dream. Kind of old school. But in the end, like I say, after about 2 years, there's going to be a lot of dead politicians. There's going to be a lot of dead bureaucracy type people. Reformulate the government, get rid of the central banks, make Wall Street toe the line, and all them jobs, them corporations shoved overseas, you either bring them back or take your corporation to that country and get the hell out of America. And we start again, just like in 1776. All those millions and millions and millions and millions of laws on the books that these politicians create and make up to justify their jobs will be gone. Burned up in the trash, shredded. And the 3 phases of government, the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch will be reformulated. And they will abide by the Constitution of the United States or they just won't be. And that part of the military that stood up for America, those patriots, those militarized individuals that believe in God, guns, and guts, those of us that were considered terrorists for being Christians or veterans or something else like that, are going to have a rebirth. Just like in 1776 when we kicked King George out of the United States. And bottom line is, you're either with us or against us. And if you're against us, hit the bricks. We don't want to know you. And all those millions and billions and trillions of dollars that we give to countries every year to support them, that hate our guts and screw us behind our back. Guess what? Go find somebody else to suck money out of, because it ain't coming no more. There are one or two countries that we've been allied with for hundreds of years that we consider ourselves friends, and we're even going to give them notice. You back us, we'll back you. You don't want to do it? Bye. And maybe it is time to be a nationalistic country, just like Israel is. There's nothing wrong with nationalism. It really isn't. But we stop giving money away to people that hate us. We pull our troops out of all these countries. Middle East, if they want to go kill each other for religious reasons or whatever else, that's on them. We're done trying to be nation builders. If you want a nation built, build it yourself. But see, for 1,300 years, North Africa, the Middle East, has been a terrorist site. Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll just kill each other all off. I don't know. It's time that America woke up and said, we are America. We are the greatest nation. We're not going to accept less. You politicians, you talking heads, you morons in the news media and the bureaucracies and everything else, you either toe the line, stick by the Constitution of the United States, or you're out, or quite possibly dead, and make no apologies for it. But that was basically my dream. Had about a 2-year lifespan in it, as I basically recall. But we got back to basics. And especially the Wall Street types, the banking industry, the Illuminati types, the Bilderberg types. See ya. We go back on the gold standard that we were before Nixon took us off of it. We get rid of the Federal Reserve System, close the banks, account for all the gold we're supposed to have that may have already been sold off to other countries or banks in the world. I'm going to say, give it back or we're coming to get you. But anyhow, I had a dream. It wasn't a nice dream. At times it was a very bloody dream. But I had a dream. Maybe it's time some of you sleeping heads, talking heads, morons, liberals, progressives, communists, socialists, whatever you want to call yourself, get a wake-up call. There's a lot of us of what we call the silent majority out here getting fed up with the bull crap you try and foist on us. Karma is a son of a bitch, and when it comes around, look out. Don't be in front of the bus. That's truck driver's opinion. I had a dream.